big dollars. I say the big dollars, the easiest place to cut the American people right now by a majority, large majority, saying that we've had enough of that. They don't support this increased militarism in Afghanistan, and we ought to start thinking about maybe saving $500 billion. We spend $1 trillion a year overseas, but we could save hundreds of billions of dollars by just bringing the troops home, not only from the Middle East, which would make us much safer, but why is it that we still have troops in Japan, Korea, and Europe? All this means it raises the possibility of young people in America between the ages of 18 and probably 30, that someday they're going to need you, and the volunteers won't be adequate enough, and that's why they keep draft registration on the books. And it is also the reason that the beliefs that I have every year that I've been up there, offered legislation that would abolish draft registration of our 18-year-olds. About 18-year-olds registering for a draft. First off, you really don't, they don't need you to register. They know where you are already. It's sort of a ritual to make sure you know that you belong to the government. It's sort of like the income tax. The income tax says they own all 100% of your income and you are allowed to keep a certain percentage. And that is why most, even the conservatives, are starting to talk like this. Well, we can't give you a tax cut because we have to pay for it. Well, you don't have to pay anything to allow you to keep what you earn. But this is their attitude. But the draft, of course, is the ultimate slavery, the ultimate tax on an individual life. But then again, don't you think the 18-year-old owes a lot more to his country than somebody who's 45 or 50 and just made $10 billion up in New York over the financial system that we have? Oh no, 18-year-old owes it all to the country. You know, we were truly trying to find out who owes most of the country. It's probably the middle-aged guys who made a lot of money. But of course, you know, in a free society, you don't have those kind of programs, and you don't have to worry about this. But it really bothers me when they make the case that it's good discipline. The 18-year-old owes his life to his country, and he has to go. And I was drafted in the military. I guess I wasn't quite as outspoken as I was then, because I got a draft notice and I went. You know, and I served 5 years in the Air Force, but that was caught up during the Cuban crisis. But at that time, I wasn't fully aware of and nor as intense about an undeclared war. But over the years, I became more intense about undeclared wars, illegal war spending, useless killing, and all the things that go on, and not really making the world a better place. We can achieve a lot more in peace through persuasion, setting good examples, have a healthy economy, and we don't do a whole lot of that. Right now, we've bankrupted our country, and we're dumping it on your laps, and therefore these problems are very important to you and should be, but the whole thing is you have to know what to do about it. But that's the neat part about this whole story, is that there's only about two things you have to understand. We got into this mess because we never followed the restraints of the Constitution, and we could get out of it just by sending only people to Washington who will abide by the rule of law and get the government off our backs and out of our lives. In a personal way, I'd like to see model our lives. I happen to be considered a conservative individual, and I hope I can be seen as somebody with conservative values. But there's a lot of things that people do when they have their freedoms that I recognize that they have a right to it. It's easy for most Americans to understand that when we talk about religious values, because a lot of things go on in religious beliefs, some very bizarre. As long as these beliefs don't motivate others to kill and rob each other, we permit that. We understand why religious beliefs are recognized. When it comes to social issues, we're much less tolerant. We'll think, well, this person likes to gamble. He likes to gamble on the internet. Oh no, that's gambling is bad for you. So we have to make that illegal. Oh, what you smoke and drink and what you do with your personal lives and your lifestyle. Oh, we're going to make you a better person. If only the government could set up the rules, this world, just like we make the world a better place to live and make the world safe for democracy, we're going to make it a perfect world by all the rules and regulations on voluntary behavior among our people. The whole thing is it gets out of control. And right now, and I have become more firmly convinced of this over the years, and politically it's never gotten me in any trouble because I live in a very conservative Bible Belt district in Texas, but I have come to the conclusion that the war on drugs makes no sense whatsoever. Is getting on TV or radio shows with liberals. Because liberals hate states' rights. You know, you're a states' rights person, you're a bad guy. You know, and that means you're for slavery. But when that comes up, I'll say, well, yeah, I think states' rights is a good idea. You know, in California, they have passed this radical law that says that if you raise a little marijuana in your yard and you happen to have a doctor's prescription and you're allowed to use this marijuana and you're sick and you can use this and you can feel better, and the state law permits it. But the federal government comes in and says, oh no, we overrule the state law and we put sick people in prison because they have used drugs that they think will help them. And so it's a good example that where both left and right could benefit by this principle of, you know, taming down the monolithic state coming out of Washington. But the whole notion that they can make us better people, or the world better, or make the economy fair, is all done. Many people who endorse that are well motivated. I don't, you know, really challenge people's motivations. But I do challenge their ideas if they're wrong. And yet, if they do these things that don't hurt people, the line should be drawn that if you don't hurt people and you don't steal from people, that you ought to be permitted to make your own mistakes. But the most important thing, the hardest thing for people who are accepting the principles of liberty, is assuming the responsibility for your own actions. Now, that's two-edged. Assuming the responsibility of your own actions means that you get to keep the fruits of your labor. Work hard, you get to keep it. But on the other side, if you go and mess up and your social behavior gets you into trouble, or you do dumb things and you get hurt, you can't go crawling to the government and tell the government to go to my neighbor and bail you out somehow or the other. But the opportunity really is available for us, I think, to make one of these points. Because of the trouble that we're in. We're into financial trouble. We're in trouble because people are angry. They're not quite sure what they're angry about. But I'm very delighted that most of the anger is being directed toward Washington, D.C. That's helpful. Yeah. I don't mind, I guess, I have to confess, I don't mind it when they make one or two exceptions to the rules. But no, there's a lot of reasons why something has to be done. Something will be done, one way or the other. So if we do nothing, things will change. We'll have a much more tyrannical government. It's simple as that, because there'll be chaos and there won't be enough money. And that's what's happening. The states are running out of money, the municipalities are running out of money, the federal government's running out of money. But the magic is, they still trust our dollar. A little bit less every single day. But it's to be so ironic that our enemies, the communist enemies, are now our bankers, and we do business deals with them. And we're the spendthrift, we don't save, and we don't produce like we used to, and we're in much worse financial shape. So the opportunities are going to be there for your generation to do something about it. The only question is what do you want? You want to live in a free society, and a prosperous society, and a peaceful society, which sounds like a pretty appetizing program, or you're going to accept the idea that we're going to continue along this line, and that we'll still continue with this confused notion about what rights are. This is the basic problem with what we do in Washington, because